Were you talking to me, Ed?
Yeah, long time.
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Where did Mike go? He disappeared.
I wish my best friend, my coffee.
There we go. That's it.
Are you drinking coffee, Robin? Are we looking upside down? All right, everyone get a neck workout. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. I want to make sure we fit in everything about nutrition. So,
right.
As we transition to that, one thing I do want to say that just came up with JC and Laura is just remember, it's not our job to realize, oh, this client needs to choose a different motivational style. It's about, we're going to help them gain awareness, and then it's their choice. But it's a great coaching conversation because, like, for example, if they're reactive, but it sparked the action, but there's maybe an ongoing fear, how is that fear serving you? How is that stress serving you? And just explore it with them. And then just help them gain awareness of these are different motivational styles. Is there a different type that you could tap into at this time or with this goal that could serve you better? So just helping them gain awareness. And then it's just a great exploratory, and it can really lead into other deeper conversations for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in thinking about nutrition, the reason why I was so excited about this is like nutrition was, when I went through this class initially, was it still being developed with John, nutrition was literally the most impactful session for me. And it's funny, it's coupled with motivation, because I actually, when I was in breakout rooms for nutrition, I was literally like, what can I do, to help my husband's health? Because he's had some health problems and we were trying to figure out what to do. And so I was really empathetically motivated to learn more about it. And I'll keep this short because I want to get to everything else. It's really cool how they intertwine, because I learned about just exploring nutrition. And actually there was a dietitian in the class at the time, and just sharing about how food sensitivities could affect you and all these different things. And like, I really didn't understand the difference between an allergy and a sensitivity at that point. And so having an expert was really cool. But I actually was really motivated to learn more about it because like, oh, this will really help my husband. So I find actually a nutritional, or not, like a naturopathic doctor, and she runs this test of food sensitivity. And it turns out my husband has a ton of these sensitivities. And so at first I was empathetically motivated, like, oh, like this, I want to learn more about this, figure this out, because it's going to help him so much. Well, then having realized how much it did for him, I was like, I want this for me too. And so I ended up doing this test. And this is all because of this one session. I was like, I didn't even know. And then I was able to like get food sensitivity testing and found out I had a ton of the same ones that he had. And it was like, I had no idea, because I wasn't feeling bad, but there was like other issues. And so it was so interesting. And then it's really cool because then empathetic motivation came into play too, again, because we wanted to have a baby and we were told that it would be really, really difficult. Well, literally 1 month after we cut like food sensitivities out, we got pregnant, and people were like, what? Like the doctor was like, how, what? And then I now realized, oh, there's so much like research with food sensitivities and fertility. And it's just really interesting. But I wouldn't have ever even gone down that road if it hadn't been for the nutrition session. So I thought that was really cool, because then now I have my son and been empathetically motivated the whole pregnancy for his health, and still, taking care of myself for his benefit, but also for him. But I thought that was a really cool, like reflecting on this chapter this past week. Thinking about sharing it with you guys is like, there's just so much potential just in exploring nutrition and supporting our clients to do their research and figure out what they need. And that's what happened to me. And now I have a son. So that's something that I wanted to share with you guys. So as we think about talking about nutrition, it's very important to explore what that means to the client. How did they define a diet? Because it's not something where we be like, okay, this is a diet. It's more of an exploratory conversation of what is a diet, and they might have one that they're specifically investigating or researching. Like, I was looking for certain answers on inflammation and I found some sensitivities. So everyone's different, but just make sure that you understand where they're coming from in terms of diet. And then, like I said, experts, because we are not the experts as wellness coaches. However, like, there have been nutritionists, like that one that I was sharing about, that got cross-trained as a wellness coach, so she would be able to give like nutritional advice. And I'm not saying that, I like, for example, Laura with doTERRA, you have knowledge that you're like, oh, this would support this, right? So what you would want to do is keep your coaching like separate, and then I have some resources and things I could share with you afterwards. So for example, like, Robin, did you say you have exercise science in as a background? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm a personal trainer. I also have diet and nutrition certifications.
Right. So you just want to coach, because sometimes when we interject our own advice, even in coaching, that can interrupt the flow. You could couple it with your personal training, and a lot of coaches have done that, where you explore with them, and then you can here's some information for you that would be helpful. But encouraging them to seek experts, and to do their research. So not saying, oh, you need to see a naturopath, right? Like, you wouldn't say that. You'd say, there are lots of options. Our job as coaches is to help them explore, and just explore the world of nutrition and the options for them, what they need. And, we're not judging like, oh, this is better than this.
No.
And so, but Robin, like, you have expertise. So that's something you could pull out after. Like, for example, that nutritionist, she would coach, and then, she would have a nutritional plan that she would switch her hat and be the expert.
Okay.
So it's not something that can't come into play. But you'd want to keep your coaching like pure coaching.
Okay.
But it definitely can come into play. So there's a lot of voices in nutrition. There's always someone saying, oh, you need to do this. This is better than this. Our job as coaches is to not do that. Let's help them explore, do your research, and back up that research. Like, find out what's going to work for them and what expert they need. There's some people that really, really thrive with maybe like a nutritionist, but they want to, it's helpful to know what a dietitian is as well. Like, there's so many differences. So helping them explore it. What has been your experience with doctors or health professionals, and just help them make their choices, their own choices, so that they have the knowledge behind them. They have that awareness of what they do, and just exploring that. And that was really beneficial for me. That, it opened up a whole new world. So we're just helping them identify what can work for them and do the research. So as we think about nutrition, 2 key principles that as coaches we look at with them is the balance. And so that can mean a lot of different things, but it's about, looking at how they can have a healthy, balanced life. So it might be, that's another thing to help them define, because balance might be, I have 2 cheat days a week, or 10% of my food is unhealthy, or I have a cheat meal. I can eat whatever I want, just as long as I, count the calories of whatever it is. So you need to find out what balance means to them in terms of nutrition. And then avoidance. Like, what do they need to avoid? And I love this part because it talks about, like, what happened to me and my husband. Was like, certain things to avoid, and then my body's healed, and then, we were able to have a baby. So that was something that it's really interesting to think about. But then they need an expert. Like, how do you know what foods to avoid? Or are you currently avoiding any food? Because there might be, like, what I find in wellness coaching is people already know what they shouldn't be eating, right? So it's more of like, do they have the motivation, right? And it's because sometimes it can't just go off willpower to avoid eating something. So it's helpful to explore. You know, are there any foods that you avoid? Why do you avoid them? Oh, they don't make me feel good. Well, have you ever gotten tested? Because, I mean, or I just don't like it, right? There's so many people that say, I don't like bananas because I just don't like the taste. And there's some people that say, I don't drink milk because it gives me a stomach ache. Those are two different things, right? So exploring what they're avoiding. So those are 2 principles of nutrition. But the bottom line is explore it with them, get on the same page with them, and then encourage them to seek expert advice in that area and find a health professional that works for them. Ideally, you'd want them, like especially if they have specific goals or they don't know what they should be eating. You know, I think it's great to share a personal story. Like I shared with you guys, well, this is what happened to me. So you know, I'd encourage you to do research on, you know, dietitians and naturopathic doctors, and you know, there's certain doctors that specialize in certain things, right? So what I found specifically for me and my husband was because she specialized in gut health and digestion, and like my husband's problem was like he would like feel bloated after every time he ate. And so that's kind of like how I did my research and found, oh, someone that specialized in that. There's certain people that specialize in allergies or just with women and just with children. I mean, there's potential for everything. So the bottom line is explore with them, get on the same page with them, and then find out what their goals are for the nutrition. And then as coaches, our job is to figure out how they want us to help them be accountable to those goals. That might be they do a symptom survey that's mentioned in the book, or they might do a food journal. So, for example, like, oh, I don't know where to start. You could say, well, have you thought about just keeping a food journal? Have you ever kept a food journal? You know, that's a really helpful tool. And just conversation, like they do 3 days of food journaling, and then that propels a bunch of other conversation. Like, what did you notice about yourself when you ate this? And you know, what were you thinking when you made this choice? So it's a great exploratory, but everyone's different. You need to find out what they specifically need. And I know next week you'll be doing Coaching to Flourish. So this chapter is written as if you already we're familiar with Coaching to Flourish, but it's looking at nutrition with the Coaching to Flourish model. So it's this whole idea of a plant. Like you have the flower, you have the seed and roots, you have the leaves, you have the stem, and then eventually you have the flower, right? So when we're looking at nutrition, their goal or desired outcome is the flower. You know, what kind of flower do they want to end up with? So in a way, that's the proactive motivation, right? That's the vision for the future. That's what they want. So what is their goal or desired outcome? Then the starting point. You need to get clear on where they're at. And it's just an honest, open conversation of where you're at. What are their food choices? What is their lifestyle? There might be a symptoms form that they fill out with a doctor. They might keep a food log. It's just get a really good picture of where they're at. Then the next part is the leaves. So that's where they can develop new structures. They can figure out where they go from here, right? So they're like, what do I do about this? And so that might be, I need to develop this sort of structure. I need a meal plan on this day. This is the part where they branch out. Their leaves go this way and that, depending on what they feel like they need to do. And then stem, I think I love this stem is holding up the flower, right? And it's supported, it grows out of the seed. So going out of the root and seeds, coming out of where you are, there's the stem. And that's holding up the flower. So it's the stamina, it's the strength. It's an area you can explore to help them build up their strength. Mm-hmm. And I think motivation comes into play in this too. Like, what motivation do they need to employ to be able to do this? How can they strengthen their stamina? And maybe they need to ease into it. There's people that I can't just go from not eating any chocolate to going no chocolate, or eating chocolate and not eating any chocolate at all. Just like when people reintroduce to food, usually it has to be gradual. So everyone's different, but the idea with STEM is, okay, how can you stay on track and grow stronger and support this vision where you want to be. Support the flower. So it's where resilience comes into play too. So, okay, when something doesn't go exactly as you planned, how are you going to bounce back? How are you going to get back on track? And then, of course, the flower is when you're flourishing. You're like living your ideal life, your ideal health. So you have, different food choices you're making. Your body's doing good. It's your where you want to be. And so a lot of that is staying in that place of flourishing. How can you maintain that? So really with this model, exploring, tracking are very important. And then exploring food choice and the connections to other areas of life. Because there's so many, I don't know about you guys, but chocolate when you're stressed, right? Like there's so many things we make because of other things, like other choices we make because of other things, like maybe other people too. Like when you're cooking for other people, you make few choices you might not make because other people are involved. And then coaching around this, bottom line is it helps them develop a structure, but then also accountability. So this is where what you guys talked about with habits is going to come into play, right? What habits can you put into place to start on this track? Do you have any thoughts to add, Robin?
No. No.
Okay. All right. So wellness coaching. Usually someone's coming because they want to be well. There's something that they want to change. So, I've coached people that their parents have signed them up, and that's really hard because they have to find that self-motivation. They have to find why they're doing it for them, because they have to want it. They have to want it. So usually there's I want to change my lifestyle. I want to change my diet. I want to, or way of eating, however they define diet. I just want to feel better. I want to reach my goals. I want to fit into my wedding dress. I've coached someone around that before. That was one of their main, bigger picture goals. So we just really need to know what their goals are.
Right.
And partner with them. And help them gain more awareness. Like any of these areas, it's even talking about the flower, that could be a whole coaching conversation, right? And that could be why do you want to be there? What's that going to feel like? And we have an exercise later on in the program about future self. So that's a great place to talk about. It's what is your ideal life and your ideal future self? And then after you've gotten in and you've gotten why they want to do these things, why do they want to make a change, and you can get into having them do a symptom survey, or they would usually meet with an expert, and it's good to figure out how you're each going to work together. So for example, if they're working with a nutritionist or a dietitian or a naturopath or whatever, what do they want your role to be and the doctor's role? They might just want your accountability or you to check in on them, and that's it. So you just need to figure out what they specifically want. And then there's the nutrition wheel. So this is really great for exploring and then keeping track of progress. So I sent you guys a blank wheel. There is going to be a workbook that you work through with clients through a wellness program that will have a visual in it. So I did send you guys a blank wheel just so if you wanted to use this with clients, you could label it. But it's assessing all the different areas of nutrition. So clarity of current food plan, meal planning, access to comfort food, hydration, energy, digestion and health, financial, right? That's a big one for some people. I want to eat healthy, but it's so expensive. Environment, control, and emotional.
Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. Can you mute maybe everyone but yourself, or maybe whoever's banging around could mute, please, so I can't hear over because I got background noise myself here.
Yeah, can you hear me okay now, or do you still hear it?
Nope, it's good now. Appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. So I'll relist the areas for you just in case you didn't hear them. So clarity of current food plan, meal planning, access to comfort food, hydration, energy, digestion, health, financial, environment, control, and emotional. So clarity food plan. Maybe they know what they shouldn't eat, but they don't know how to make it work. Or maybe they don't know what foods to avoid. They just know, I'm supposed to eat this certain way, but they don't know why. Meal planning. Do they have a system for that? For prep and meal planning and shopping. Access to comfort food. Is there too much comfort food, or is there not enough? Like, do they need more access to chicken noodle soup? Like, there needs to be an exploration around that. Hydration. Are they drinking enough water? Energy. They just rate their mental and physical energy. Digestion and health. Their current level of digestion, and other symptoms. So, financial, food cost, and so on. Environment, social support, temptations. Maybe they have a roommate that brings Twinkies home. Control. How's their portion control? How are they doing at resisting temptation? And emotional. And that's exploring nutrition relates to certain impacts and emotions, stress eating and so on. With any of this, follow your client, because this wouldn't be something you're like, oh, do you stress eat? You wouldn't go at it like that. You would definitely approach it in a sensitive way, and you just design an alliance with them. They have their chosen expert. How do they want you to come into play as their coach? How can you support them in this journey? And then sometimes they might be more comfortable talking about other things than, for example, the emotional side. That might be something they have to work into exploring with you. And then from there, you would pull out the Coaching to Flourish model. And that's a great for when you start with a client, what is your flower? What is like ideal goal with coaching, in your wellness, and then go from there. So that's the idea with nutrition. So we as wellness coaches, we're, helping them gain awareness, helping them branch out, find their experts, build a partnership with them, help them gain even more awareness and accountability around nutrition. Any questions or thoughts?
Have we talked about that symptom survey before? I don't recall that.
No, and that's more of something that they would get from an expert. So usually they would fill out an intake form from a doctor, but you might talk about it as well. Like, how do you know you need to change your health? And they might already have done something like that. But no, that's something new that's just mentioned in this chapter. Sarah, you had a question?
Oh, no. Well, maybe more of just a thought. Something just struck me. I was thinking about the flower, and what if each petal on you could have like a nutrition flower, and each petal was your categories, and you were like kind of building to build your flower, and then your goal is the center of the flower.
Sarah, will you please make that? That would be amazing.
Well, and then I was like, what if you were building a whole garden and each flower was a different like section on the wheel? So you have like one flower that was nutrition, one's friends and family, one's personal growth, and then all the petals are like the different areas building up to it.
That is beautiful. That's amazing. I love that visual. And I mean, make this your own. Definitely. I mean, if that was something that rings with you and you're like, oh, I want to share this, right? Definitely do that. Cause that would definitely work, because it's more about helping them gain awareness. And if your certain clients would like really strike a chord with flowers and more visuals, go for it. It's a powerful visual.
Okay. Yay.
Thanks for sharing that, Sarah. And if you do create one, please share it with us, because it's really cool. So I didn't make you a flower. I just got the wheel. So what we're going to do in breakout rooms is we're going to walk through, why are you coming to wellness coaching? That initial step of exploring, did they do a symptom survey? Is there something that they really want to work on in their life, and why? So really digging deep with powerful questions. And the next part would be, if they've ever completed a food log, or if they've gone to a doctor and they're experiencing some symptoms and what they want to do about that. And then complete the nutrition wheel. And then from there, it's just a lot of exploring. Like, what do they want to do with that? I really love the Coaching to Flourish model with nutrition. And like Sarah, you made it really powerful too, because you really could make the wheel on the flower, which is really a really cool thought. But it's, clarifying where they're at, and then what do they want to do from here? What changes do they want to make? How can they make this sustainable? And how can they get to where they want to go? So we're here to help them, learn and grow into their flower, right? And support them on that journey. So that's the basics of Coaching to Flourish. And I know there's a lot more to it in the whole chapter, but that's kind of the idea with nutrition. So in breakout rooms, you have the wheel, or you can draw a flower on a paper, which would be great. It'd be 10 petals. And so you're gonna do those different areas. I'll post those in the chat. So just in case, like Laura, if you do you have your book in front of you, or the PDF that John sent?
Yeah, I've already wrote it out. I just have a question. Do we number the pieces like we did with the other wheel?
Yes. So you would be, it depends on them. So like scale from 1 to 10, how clear is your current food plan? But for meal planning, it could be like scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your system of meal planning? So you could do 1 to 10, or it could be, how satisfied they are with that area from scale from 1 to 10. So it really depends on your client. I've seen it both ways. Like some people don't want to rate their, how my nutrition relates or impacts to my emotions. That one's a little harder to rate. But the key is to just explore all the areas and where they're at. So however they would say, for example, they're like, well, I'm not quite where I want to be. You're like, well, would you say you're 25% of that goal? Or, you can see where they're at. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing for the remainder of breakout rooms. So I would like you guys to have each, 15 minutes each, but that would put us at 5 minutes over, right? Because it's already 5:35. So would you guys be okay with going a couple minutes over, or should we shorten breakout room time? Because 10 minutes is okay to dig in as well. What do you guys think?
I think it'd be good to do 10 minutes and then come back and debrief.
Okay, so 10 minutes each, and then we'll debrief. So it's already kind of a set agenda of exploring nutrition in their life. And then you can get a measure of success. What do they want to get out of the time? Is everyone on board? Robin, did you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right, so I'm going to pause the recording.